Hi, Ben from Keystone, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome Steph from SAS Daniels to the studio today. Welcome, Steph.
Thank you for having me.
Steph's a partner at the firm in Chester, very reputable firm, and we've got some really interesting stuff to go through today. So let's start things off, Steph. What are the biggest delays in property transactions that you see today?
I think sometimes some clients delay in completing forms. I think searches can take some time to come back, and particularly when we find some entries on those searches that need investigating. Mortgage offers can take some time. Last minute negotiations, renegotiations on the price can really slow a transaction down because the documentation has to be duplicated. New mortgage offers have to come through. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we see at the moment.
Definitely. And why do you think so many property sales fall through?
I think sometimes searches can be a big problem when searches throw up something. So lack of building regulations, lack of planning permission for some works. And sometimes that just scares somebody. It can scare your first time buyer, a client, even if you've bought and sold many times. And I think if that information is available up front and they know that there's no planning permission or no building regulations for something, it can be investigated and solved quite early on without the stress.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we get it wrong as an industry, estate agents, by not doing this work up front. And as you know, at Keystone, it's a big thing for us that we get the searches, we look into things like planning permission, building regs, just preparing that property for sale properly. Would you find that helpful if every estate agent was like that?
Hugely helpful. I mean, our industry itself, there's new TA6s, new property information forms just come through, and the whole crux of those is the material information up front. And I think that the more people can know up front, if there's lack of building regulations, it means that they can get their surveyor to look at the work, to make sure it's fine, and to stop that stalling a transaction late on. That information's there that can be investigated and can be resolved.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a big thing, and I'd love to see the estate agency industry really embrace this, and just rather than just being in a rush to get the house on the market and then selling it and letting the solicitor deal with all the problems further on down the line, when then you get emotion coming into the situation. I just think it's all the wrong way round at the moment, and it frustrates me. And this is why I'm doing something about it at Keystone, and obviously with my other company, Sale Ready Searches as well. Something else you touched on there as well, Steph, earlier on in the conversation is about the likes of first-time buyers not really understanding. I think, again, from an estate agent's perspective, it's about educating the client.
It is. And I think sometimes a first-time buyer particularly is quite afraid. I'll explain something to them. I'll give them some advice. And I think, they've understood and they've gone off. But quite often there'll be terms even that they don't get, they don't understand. And sometimes they're a bit frightened to come back to us to ask those questions. Sometimes they think they're going to get charged more. Sometimes I can tell them something that they might think is really scary, that there's no fencer certificate for a window. But quite often when they go back to an estate agent, they talk to the estate agent, they realise it's not such a big deal.
No,
and it's
exactly.
Something that can be fixed. It's something that happens quite often. And I think the communication from the estate agent, that's where it really helps us, because it allays their fears.
Yeah, transparency is everything.
Yeah.
I think that clients need that when they're buying a house. They need to sort of really understand what it is they're buying.
Yeah. I mean, perfect example is lack of building regulations consent. So, for example, if you've put a house on the market, there's no building regulations for, say, a loft conversion. If the buyer's aware of that at the start, they can then get the proper surveys in place. They can have it investigated properly without it being an issue, and without scaring them. If they're transparent at the start, they know about it.
100%. I think that's a great point.